Have you ever been so burdened about something that you knew something had to be done, but you didn't know where to start? That's exactly where Nehemiah found himself. The city walls of Jerusalem lay in ruin. The people were vulnerable, and something had to change. But Nehemiah didn't just see the problem. He had a vision for the solution. So today we're going to look at how Nehemiah moved from vision to motion. And we're going to see how you can do the same thing in your ministry and in your life. Why? Because vision alone won't build walls, action will. So first, I want you to recognize Nehemiah's vision. He had a God-given burden. The first step in moving from vision to motion is recognizing where the vision comes from. Nehemiah wasn't just upset about broken walls. He was burdened by a vision from God, and he wanted to rebuild the walls. He was burdened by a vision from God to rebuild them. Nehemiah 1:4 says, "When I heard these words, I sat and wept and mourned certain days and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven." You see, a vision that moves is always born in prayer. Nehemiah spent time seeking God before he ever took action. If you want your vision to succeed, it must be rooted in prayer and aligned with God's will. If you have a God-given burden, your next step is a step of planning and preparation. You must move beyond the burden. Once Nehemiah had the vision, he didn't rush to action. Instead, he took time to plan and prepare. If you study through Nehemiah chapter number 2, we see that when Nehemiah arrived in Jerusalem, he spent 3 days observing and assessing the damage before he ever spoke to anyone. He quietly went out by night to survey the walls, understanding the full scope of the work before he cast the vision to other people. Here's my point. Great leaders plan before they act. Nehemiah didn't share the vision immediately. Instead, he took time to understand the problem fully and to formulate a strategy. As you move from vision to motion, you need to ask yourself, have I taken time to really understand the full scope of the work? Have I sought God's wisdom in planning? See, we need God in our lives. We can't go on it by ourselves. In your ministry, whether it's building a bus route or building a team, take time to assess where you are before you go and cast the vision. Don't rush. Spend time understanding the current state. Identify the challenges that are in front of you and pray for wisdom. Once you're through the preparation stage, you must then focus on how to cast the vision clearly, inspiring others to action. After careful observation, what did Nehemiah do? Nehemiah knew it was time to cast that vision. But notice how he did it. He did it with clarity, he did it with urgency, and he did it with an appeal to God's hand at work. In Nehemiah chapter 2, he speaks to the leaders of Jerusalem and he says, Ye see the distress that we are in. Come, let us build up the wall of Jerusalem. Nehemiah, in his communication, painted the picture of the problem, but he also gave them the solution, and he reminded them that God's hand was with them. Then said I unto them, Ye see the distress we are in, how Jerusalem lieth at waste, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come, let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we be no more a reproach. See, he communicated clearly. Vision casting must be clear. It must be specific, and it must be actionable. Nehemiah didn't just say, hey, we should fix these walls. No, he rallied the people who then spoke up and caught his vision, and they said, let us rise up and build. Nehemiah gave a clear call to action, and the people responded to that call. In your ministry, when you cast vision, learn to make it specific. Don't just say, let's grow this bus route. Instead, be specific. Say, let's reach 10 new families by the end of this month. And here's how we are going to do it. Clarity inspires action. Learn to break down the vision. Establish the step-by-step process that you need to go through. Vision becomes motion when it's broken down into steps. Again, with Nehemiah, he didn't rebuild the walls by himself. Neither did he expect other people to figure it out on their own. Nehemiah chapter number 3 is where we see how he assigned the different sections of the wall to different families and different workers. Each person had a specific task and contributed to the overall vision. You can't do it alone, and your team cannot succeed without direction. Nehemiah delegated specific tasks, making sure that every worker knew what their responsibility was. And this is the key to be able to move a vision forward. Everybody needs to know their role, and everyone then works together toward that common goal. For your ministry, break your vision down into actionable steps. In this, then, assign specific tasks to your team. Don't just say, let's increase our attendance in church. Instead, assign people to focus on outreach, focus on follow-up, focus on event planning, and assign specific people with clear responsibilities. Next, learn to set timelines and build momentum. Once the tasks were assigned, the work began. But Nehemiah didn't just give them jobs. He built momentum by setting the pace. We need to be pace setters in the work of the ministry. The people worked day and night, and Nehemiah kept them focused on the goal. He kept reminding them that God was with them. In Nehemiah chapter number 4 and verse number 6, we read that the people had a mind to work. So once your vision is set in motion, you need to keep building momentum. Set deadlines, check progress, and celebrate the wins along the way. Take time to praise the Lord for what He does and continue to encourage the people on the steps ahead. Nehemiah didn't just assign tasks. He motivated the people and he kept them on track. So in your ministry, set clear timelines for each phase of the vision. For example, set a goal to connect with maybe 5 new families by the end of the month. Keep your team focused. Keep them motivated and celebrate when you hit those milestones. Learn to connect with the people in the work. If you're going to do anything for God, you need to be ready to overcome opposition. Nehemiah faced it, but we must stay focused on the vision. Vision does not come without opposition. Nehemiah faced it. He faced that resistance from the enemies who mocked them and threatened them in the work. But Nehemiah didn't let fear or opposition stop him. In Nehemiah 4:9 we see, he says, "Nevertheless we made our prayer unto God, and set a watch against them day and night." See, Nehemiah kept his eyes on the vision, trusting God while taking care of practical steps to protect the workers that he had. Opposition is going to come, but don't lose focus. Nehemiah prayed for God's help, and he also set guards to protect the workers. So for us as leaders, we need to trust God. Trust God, but we also need to make practical steps to overcome the challenges at hand. So in your ministry, expect challenges, but don't be discouraged. Learn to pray that God's strength would enable you to go forward and take action to address the obstacles that you can, whether it be adjusting your plans or seeking counsel, or even rallying your team just to stay focused through the difficult time. But don't miss this. Nehemiah's vision didn't just remain an idea. It became a reality because he took intentional, prayerful steps forward. That is what it takes to move vision to motion. So what's the next step for your ministry? Or what's the next step in the project that you're up against? How will you take the vision that God has given to you and turn it into action? We need vision to be put into motion. So it's time to build. It's time to lead. It's time to move from ideas to results. Build, lead, move from vision to motion. Before you go, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button to my page, and also jump in the video description and find a link. And here's what I have, a free resource for you today. It's something that I think will be valuable for you. It is a vision casting quick start guide. And it's really just packed full of key steps that will help you take your ideas and your vision and make them actionable. I think it'll be a blessing to you, but I'd love for you to stay connected with what we've got going on here with our ministry training. God bless you.